Hello everybody, welcome. And it's another Making It Monday, 7 p.m. Doesn't it come round quickly? Oh gosh, I hope you've downloaded your pattern, and I hope that you're ready to join in and start stitching with me. Now, exciting news, everybody. Not only have we're live on Facebook, but we're also live on YouTube at the same time. I know, isn't it absolutely wonderful? We'll see how well it works. But yes, it's so lovely to join you again. Hasn't it been a glorious day? Now look, I live in Suffolk in the UK. A lot of you will know Suffolk, I'm sure, but we've had glorious weather today, and it's really inspired John and I to get out in the garden and have a look to see what's growing, what needs to be planted, what needs to be kind of cut back a bit, and it's been absolutely super. So I've really enjoyed the day. Absolutely shattered after yesterday. Had a long day yesterday, but it was so super to be part of the crafting team back on TV again. And that was John just leaving the room, just checking up on me, making sure we're okay. So welcome to Making It Monday. Because we've got this lovely project to do today. You can just see it on my desk there, and it's a nice easy make. And already over on the Making It Monday Facebook page, the group there, we've actually got 11. I think it's about 1,125 members over on that Making It Monday group, which is amazing because I think it's only 4 weeks old now, and I know I remind you about that every week, but quite honestly, it's such a great place to show off your stuff, because that's where you show your Making It Monday projects. Nothing else, just the Making It Monday projects. And it's such a great place to be, because obviously everybody is going to admire what you've done. And it doesn't matter whether you think it's dodgy, it doesn't matter, because to somebody else it's going to look amazing, and you should always think your work is amazing regardless. I know, and I'm just as bad as you. I look at something and I think, no, I don't think so, it doesn't quite cut the mustard. So you either have to make another one or just live with it. And you know what, they're made with love, and that's what it's all about. Now, just a little bit of an update as well. Now, most of my followers on Facebook will know this, but the ones on YouTube won't know this. But as from, I think it's possibly midnight on the Tuesday, all of the patterns that are available on my website, so that's lizzycurtis.com, and you go to the shop, get the download thingy, what is it called? The drop down bar, and it says MIM patterns, okay? MIM patterns. And from midnight on Tuesday, every single week, all of the patterns will be £1. Now, I think our US conversion is about $1.60, okay, which is an absolute bargain, okay. But from Friday midday, roughly, which is when I launched the new pattern, up until Tuesday, so that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 5 days, it'll be free. But it's only the one pattern that's free, okay? It's only the current pattern, which in this case it's the clover bowl, which is free. So you've got it until, I'm pretty sure it's midnight Tuesday, and I will check that because I put the code in for the free option. It was on midday on Friday, so I hope it doesn't expire at midday. If it does, I will look at it and make sure that it lasts until midnight, okay? So you mustn't worry about that. So, and all that means is it stops my phone from being flooded with orders from all over the world when it hits the YouTube channel. So the idea is that if I can go live in Facebook, live in YouTube on a Monday night at 7, it gives you 24 hours just to pop to my website and put it through the checkout, and you just put free in the coupon box, and this is the one that you'll get free. Okay, so all of the other patterns are £1, about $1.60, and then on Tuesday from midnight they will all be £1. So it just clears that up, that clarification. Oh, and while I remember, because there was a couple of queries this week and I thought I need to tell you, on the front page of my website and on the confirmation email for every order that you get from me, from any software downloadable order, which is pretty much all what I do, it actually gives you 30 days to download the pattern and to save it to your hard drive. Okay, now you need to do that because after that 30 days it disappears. I don't know where it goes, but it clears off. Perhaps it packs its bag and goes on its holiday. The lucky thing. But you've got 30 days to download that order, if you like, that whether it's the clover bowl or whatever it is. Otherwise it just goes, okay? And I can't keep sending them out. I just don't have the resources. Only me. And I can't do it. When you consider I get hundreds of orders go through the website a day. So it's your responsibility. I'm just getting you to know that, okay? So we're going to start doing this. Now, I like to think that Grace is from Pittsburgh, my first chat. Oh, Grace, it's so lovely to see you on here. I'm from YouTube as well. We've got Shirley from the UK. We've got Abby. Abigail says nice fabric. That's only because that came from Abby. Abby is my daughter. Abigail Byrne is my daughter. And that was part of her Fat Quarter Club fabric. Yeah, it is sweet, isn't it? I think that's the only one I've got from you. Oh, this might be from you as well, Abigail. So that's another version. So we've got lots of people watching. We've got over 260 people watching at the moment. So that's absolutely super. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else from YouTube, because this is really the first time we've done it, and it's so super exciting. So I've got people watching from, I think, New Zealand. Oh no, she's made, this lovely lady, it's gone. The name has gone, but she's made loads of clover bowls and they're going to New Zealand. That's exciting, isn't it? What would you fill yours with? I'm really boring. I've got quilting clips in mine. How about if we fill them in chocolate? Well, I would love it. I would love some chocolate. We're supposed to be being good and it's so boring. Thank you, Linda. Linda says she loves my sewing. That's absolutely super. Robbie's there as well. Gillian, we've got Carol, we've got Cindy, we've got Jackie as well. There's lots and lots of people watching, so I must get on, guys. There's too much chat, not enough do. So, hopefully you've downloaded the pattern. Oh, and which reminds me, I left it over on my printer. That's good, isn't it? That's a good start. But with the pattern, as you know, as I always say, I always do that front cover with the heart and the Making It Monday. Wish I had it. And I always say to you, when you print your pattern, forget that front page because that's a little bit ink heavy. So go from page 2, I think it's 2 to 5 in this case. And that way you'll still have the picture of the project. You'll know what it's called. You'll know what project it is as well. It's all numbered. So print from 2 to, I think it's 5. And this one has a pattern. Okay, so it's... I don't post out, so you need to have a printer, okay? Or find a friend that does. I'm sure we've all got a friend that has a printer. John's going to get it off the printer for me. Actually, I don't know if it printed out right. No, it didn't. I've had troubles with my printer today, John. I've got lots of blank pages. Lovely, thank you. Well, I've got the pattern piece. The rest, honestly, I knew I was having trouble with it. I meant to check it earlier. Yeah, I just got loads of pattern pieces. So that's the piece that you're going to get, okay? And obviously you're going to actually put this on the fold. You're going to fold your fabric and cut that on the fold, which is absolutely brilliant. Well, that's as much use as a chocolate teapot, they say. So I need to get a new printer, I think. Right, so what you need is some wadding, or batting. So I've got this, I tend to use 80-20. I'm a little bit boring, a little bit samey, but I use 80-20, which is a lovely mix of cotton and polyester, I think then. But you could use soya, you could use bamboo. If you want to use 100% polyester, that's up to you. I find it doesn't stitch well with me. It doesn't sit right for whatever reason. You could use a stabiliser as well to make it a little bit more stiffer if you want to. I've seen them made with Bosal, and you know the Bosal, the foam. There's lots of different names for these things, but it's like a thin foam, isn't it? So all you've got to worry about really is whether it's going to turn correctly. My top tip is, if you use foam, cut a 1/4 inch away from the outside edge. Cut it as is and then trim a 1/4 inch away, and then adhere it to your fabric, because then you won't have that double layer in the seams, will you? So you need one of those. I need to spray mine in. Then you need one piece of fabric, because these are reversible. So I was going to say lining, but it's not really. But you need, it's lovely. Do you not think a clover bowl? Thinking of a 4-leaf clover. You see, I thought that would be quite lucky. And then you need your outer fabric. So hopefully you'll be able to see they kind of match. And I had such a bother trying to find, I wanted to use this, which is a nice ditzy flower, but then I had such troubles finding the opposite to work with it, because I didn't want it to be too busy. So I kind of ended up on a sort of a mottled tonal fabric. It's going to look fine. So you've got 3 pieces to cut out, and that's it. There's nothing else. It's so super easy. Now I'm going to transfer you to the side camera. You'll see that we've got camera in camera, so you'll be able to see me from the front, and I'll give you a wave. But you should be able to see everything that's going on my desk, and I'll be bringing my machine in so you can see me stitch. But this is such an easy project. I don't think you'll need to see it, quite honestly. Have a chat. Chat to the people on the comments. I'm doing that because that's where they are. So I'm just going to transfer you over. And I'll just transfer my front camera as well. Let's get that out of the way. So here we are. You can see me in the corner, and you can see all my projects. You can see my work desk there. So we've got, so far, so good. And I just need to just bring it down a level. Okay, so there's mine. I'll keep it there so you can see it. So sweet. And that's my other one that I made. And this is my favourite. You've seen this before. If you're a regular follower of Making It Monday, you'll know, won't you, that that is my favourite fabric. And actually the place where I bought it from were absolutely inundated with orders, and I do believe it's sold out. So apologies if you want to know what that is. There's no point me telling you, because it's sold out. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is actually put our wadding onto our fabric. So I've got my, let's try and keep this in shot for you. So I've got my wadding, and I've got some fabric adhesive spray. Now there's lots of companies that do a temporary fabric spray, okay? And to be perfectly honest, I can never remember what they're called. There are lots. Just look for, or Google, temporary fabric adhesive spray. Now I know my Abigail always recommends June Taylor, but there are lots and lots on the market. Oh, Abigail says that fabric is sold out with her supplier as well. So look, all I've done is glued it. Now look, it's going to be caught in the seam, so I don't want you to worry that, do you need to quilt it? By all means quilt it if you want to, but to be perfectly honest, it's going to be caught in the seam. It's such a little project, it's not going to move, okay? So I would say just run with it. Make one up, see what you think. Make one up, see what you think. So let's bring in the machine. I'm going to try and get it so you can see it. I think I'm probably zoomed in a bit too much. I'm going to alter my zoomage. Let's see if I can get this out the right way. Oh, that's not bad. I'm not very good at this sort of thing. So let me just see if I switch the light on as well. Oh well, that hasn't made a jot of difference. Right, so what we're going to do is right sides together, okay? So you've got your inner piece with your wadding on. Doesn't matter which, it really doesn't matter which piece. So you could put the wadding on this, what we're calling lining, or you can put it on this one. It doesn't matter, okay? So we're going to do right sides together, and depending on how accurately you cut your pieces will depend on how well they sit on top of each other. So at the moment that's all looking good, but what you could do, two things. Firstly, you could use your walking foot, and that keeps all those layers together, or we could put a pin in just to hold those clover leaves in place. We can just whiz this around and use a pin. I'm not a keen fan on pins, but sometimes they have their uses. And there we are. So all 4 petals, if you like, all 4 leaves, it's a leaf, isn't it, are actually pinned down. So I know they're pretty well sort of stable. So if you've got that far with me, that's absolutely fantastic, because we're now ready to stitch. Now, Christine from YouTube is saying that she had trouble getting on Facebook tonight, so she's watching on YouTube. It's nice to see you. Well, it's nice to see you as well, Christine. Margaret says there is some fabric on eBay, and that's the bug fabric, so that's nice to know. And Sally says, shocking, Lizzy doing pins, or Lizzy don't do pins. I don't do pins. So we need a turning gap. Now, when you look at it, you think, oh my goodness, where are we going to put a turning gap, because it's all curvy? Well, you've got to be really brave. But I suggest you go from near the point to about 2 inches, 2¼ inches up here. I wouldn't put it here. I wouldn't put it on the top, okay? Because if anything, that's where you're going to notice. If you look at mine here, that curve is what you see, okay? That's got to be nice and neat, really. If you stitch, if you leave a gap here to here, a lot of that will be caught in the little seam that we do at the sides. So I think go from here to here. So, but that's up to you. You have to find your own way with things. I can only make a suggestion. So that's what we're going to do. 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'll bring the machine in a little bit nearer so you can see what I'm up to. And this, like I say, this is this is something that I really look forward to. I'll tell you why. Because I'm so shattered. It's a nice, easy project, and I don't have to think too hard. Oh dear me. So now keep your stitch length on about 2. In fact, I'm going to turn mine down just a wee bit. The reason for that is that we're going round curves, okay? And if you have a small stitch, your curves will be super neat, okay? And also it's kind of slower. If you think about it, if we had a really, really long stitch, and I'm going slowly on purpose because this project could be done in 10 minutes flat. If we had a long stitch, it would be super fast. My machine would speed around these curves, and I don't want to speed. I want to take my time. So a small stitch slows me down. But a small stitch is great for curves, okay? Because it gives you that lovely smooth bit of stitching, which you would not get with a longer stitch, okay? Now, somebody asked me the other day, how are you doing the points? Now, I'm assuming the points, and pivot and turn if you need to. Don't ever be afraid that you can't pivot and turn. And actually, I haven't stitched my wadding, so let's just go back again and stitch that, because my wadding actually folded up. So we'll have a look at that when we're finished. I don't mind going wrong, guys. Don't ever think, oh, Lizzy has made a mistake. I don't mind that at all, because this is something that you could do, and it's good to know how you fix it. Yeah, so a little stitch will give you a lovely, lovely smooth curve, okay? And also, generally speaking, you won't need to pivot and turn, okay? I am, because it shows you what you can do. Yes, so somebody asked me about the points. How do you deal with the points? Well, of course, those that know are screaming at the Facebook page or the YouTube page. Those that don't know, seriously, don't know. And that's what we're all about. We're about learning together. We're about discovering, and nobody should say they know better than anybody else, because even if you are brand new to sewing, and I know I have got a few gold members that are new to sewing, we can all learn. from those people, okay? So it doesn't matter. And we'll get to the points as we go along. So I'm just making sure I catch my wadding again. I must admit I didn't put a lot of spray on, so I'm not surprised. With the points, you'll probably find you don't stick to your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that is absolutely fine, okay? So don't think you have to measure, because if you did, you'd end up truly with a square point, if there is such a thing, because you need, or the point where you stitch goes further in, and I'll show you close up so you know what I'm talking about. So let's just get round to where we started. I'll just go a bit more, and we'll see what we've done. And where I missed that wadding, I want to have another little look at that, because if it hasn't been caught in the seam, it's possible that, oh, I better take the pins out. Now notice I never stitch over my pins. Please, please, please do not stitch over pins. I know there are some special pins out there, you know, that are thinner and finer, and some people do sew over them. But trust me, when I was really a lot younger, in my 30s, I stitched for a professional designer, and I stitched over a pin and it went straight in my eye. Now, because of that, and that's the only reason I say, please don't stitch over a pin. It's got to do with health and safety. So there we are. So that's stitched all the way around. Told you it was super easy. I wanted to have a look at the back. So that's my turning gap. So I'm happy with that. You can see that hasn't. But look, this is where, can you see? It's important that you see. This is where the wadding sort of folded back on itself and I didn't quite catch it. Okay, can you see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip that. I'll show you when I've done it. There we go. Because a lot of this is going to be trimmed away. So can you see I snipped it so it's lying flat, and then I'm just going to re-stitch that little bit there. But I'm going to stitch on the side that I can see where my sewing line is. So I'm not going to stitch here, which almost, you know, you kind of think that's where you're going to stitch. I'm not. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to stitch this side because I'm just going to follow my stitch line. So that was a good example of if your wadding slips, just do that, okay? You haven't, nothing has been broken or destroyed, and nobody has, you know, suffered. So I'm just cutting my stitches. So there we are. So there is our piece, nicely stitched all the way around. So I need the sewing machine in a second, but this is where the lady that spoke to me said, what do you do with your points? So all I'm going to do is snip in. Now don't leave at least 2 millimetres from the point. So if I show you, if I cut this, let me bring that up there so you can have a little look-see. Can you see how far I've gone? Sorry, you can see me from the front leaning over. This is what I have to do. I get a lot of exercise in when I'm stitching. Mind you, it's only one side. Perhaps I should have something the other side and then I can lean over that way. I don't know. It's worth a thought. So look, that's all I've done. I've just snipped into there. But I've left it's a good 2 mil away. So don't be tempted to go right up to your stitch line. So I've just snipped in. And what I want to do... Ooh, where are my pinking shears? This is what happens. This is what happens when you go, you demonstrate away from home, which I did yesterday. I don't know where my other pinking shears are, but now I'm going to pink the edges. So not only have we done a really, really small stitch, let's just go to the front just for a moment while I tell you something. So not only have you done a little tiny stitch, I've got my machine on thereabouts 2, but you're also going to use the pinking shears to cut your notches in, okay? It's going to cut some of that fabric out. Have you ever seen somebody cut notches, you know, V's, out of their fabric on a curve, okay? It's a good way of getting rid of bulk, and obviously as those curves are folded in when you turn it through, they sit better, okay? There's times when you want to clip, but it's the opposite. With clipping, you're going that way, and you clip, 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 and it splays your fabric out, okay? With clipping in like this, taking little V's out, it means that your fabric, once you've folded it in, it kind of, it's very difficult to explain, but those little V's come together and there's less fabric, okay? And that's why I think if you're going to use foam or Bosal, that type of thing, Legacy is what I use, then I would cut it 1/4 inch away from the edge. And single-sided, don't use double. Double-sided foam is, you've got to be so accurate with that. I'm not sure it sits well, but that's my personal opinion, okay? And sometimes my personal opinion is not the same as somebody else's, might not be the same as yours, but we're allowed to think differently, aren't we? Isn't that the joy of everything? Okay, so all I'm doing, and I'll show you on the side camera in a sec, all I'm doing is using my pinking shears just to trim my edges away, taking away some of the bulk, taking away some of all that wadding, 2 layers of fabric. Take your time. I have to say, I really enjoy using pinking shears. Now listen, when you come, this is a bit like this today, isn't it? When you come to your turning gap, okay, I don't want you to use your pinking shears on the turning gap part, okay? So you're going to use your pinking shears maybe up to the end or the start or the end of your stitching, but just on that little section there, where your turning gap is, I want you to leave it alone, okay? Because the more fabric you have here, the better result you'll have when you tuck it in and either hand stitch it closed, glue it closed, or top stitch it closed, which is what we'll do. So I kind of go in from the side, and I'll show you on the side camera in just a second, so nothing is left to chance. And then I'm just going to continue all the way around. And like I said, I quite like using my pinking shears. First of all, you get a nice pretty edge, even though you're not going to see that. It's a bit shallow, isn't it? I like a pretty edge. Or the fact that you're taking some bulk away. It's the minutest piece of fabric. Because you might say to me, well, why didn't you just do an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance? Well, I still like to cut in and cut away and neaten off. I like that process. And I have got my Ava here, so I'll just pop all my bits into Ava. So let's just take you to that side camera again. So there we are. So let me show you what I've done. So if I bring it in quite close, I'm sorry if it's going to get in the way of the side view. So that's what it looks like. Okay, can you see my turning gap? So you can see what that looks like. Okay guys, so there's no question about, well, what did she mean? It's all very well saying it. Well, here it is. You can actually have a little look at it. So we've stitched around here with a length of 2. Okay, you can go smaller if you want to, you can go bigger if you want to, but can you see how lovely those curves are? And that's because we use a small stitch. When you do top stitching, oh hi Dee Dee, Dee Dee's from South Australia. When you do the top stitching, you could lengthen your stitch if you want to, but you might find if you lengthen it, you'll still get a more chunky stitch going around the edge, okay? So bear that in mind, try it and see. So let's just turn this through. So I'll keep you on the side camera for the moment. Jackie says, have I got my sherry? Actually, Jackie, this is the first time in ages that I haven't got a sherry while doing a Facebook Live. And I'll tell you why, I forgot. Actually, I forgot a lot of things today. And the worst thing was I forgot my sherry. I only have a little bit. And I only really have sherry when I'm super tired, like today, or when I'm doing a Facebook Live. And you might think, well, that's a peculiar thing to do. In charge of alcohol and in charge of stitching, but you know what, I'd hardly ever have a drink of it, and I giggle naturally. Okay, this is not an intoxicated giggle. So look, we've got a lovely bowl. Yeah, I know. So I've got my turning tool. This is my Harry Potter turning tool, only because it changes colour. My lovely daughter Abigail gave me that, and it's all different colours. I've also got another one. Look at this. Let me show you. This Jackie bought this for me for Christmas, and it's a fabulous metal chopstick. Isn't that absolutely delightful? But it's got a nice soft pointy end, and if I want to I could use this fatter end as well. So but I'm going to use my Harry Potter one. So what I want you to do is I want you to push out with one of the ends of your magic wand, and as you push your seams out, I want you to finger press, okay? Because what we need is those seams to be absolutely gorgeous. So by pushing out and squeezing, which is what I'm doing at the same time, you're giving your little project here a finger press, okay? We will switch the iron on, we'll give it a press in a minute, but it really does make a difference. So let's start from the other side. We'll go for the pretty side this time. So we're pushing out the seam and we're kind of squeezing those edges, and that gives you a fabulous curve. And with the heat of your hand, you're kind of semi-pressing that seam. So you won't have any bother getting a nice curvy finish. And we do love a curvy finish. I've been telling John that for years. So just push it out and just get the heat of your hand. It sounds like we're at a spa. Get the heat of your hand onto your fabric and press. Right, and so there we are. So that's turned through. But of course we have got our turning gap there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch my iron on. And you know these points, and I told you about keeping it 2 mil. Well, you might find your points end up like that. Just give them a little wriggle. Don't pull them about. Give them a little wriggle. And I could have done with my turning tool on that bit. And they'll press out. But at the end of the day, we're going to stitch that bit together. Okay, we're going to stitch that bit together. But let's get the iron on. So if you're following me, I hope you've kept up, because I've gone at a really, really nice pace. It's the sort of mood I'm in today. So let's go back to the front just for a moment. Make it slightly more interesting. So at the moment we've got 385 people watching, which is, I think, a world record. And it's lovely that we've got our YouTube followers following us as well and following along. It's not very often I do this. So don't forget, go to lizzycurtis.com. It's my website. That's where I store all my patterns. And go to the shop, get the drop-down menu, look for MIM patterns, and all 18 projects are in there. Now the only one that's free at the moment is the clover bowl, okay? All the rest are £1 or $1.60, I think, roughly, in US dollars. But from midnight Tuesday, that's Tuesday the 16th of March, they will all be charged at £1. On Friday this week, when I launched the new pattern, that's Project 19, can you believe it, at midday, that one will be free for 5 days. And that's how it's going to work in the future, okay? It's much better, because it means all you supporters that follow me on YouTube and Facebook will always have the pattern for free. Don't forget to download it within that 30-day window. It's a lot of pointy fingers tonight. I'm just realising what I'm doing. So don't forget to download it within that 30 days. Otherwise you lose it forever and you have to actually then go into the shop and buy it. I can't resend the links. I get thousands of orders in a week and I really can't send the links, okay? I'd love to, but it's too time consuming and it's only me. John does the cameras, I do this. So Can you see now what that looks like? It's lovely pressed, but we've got this turning gap to sort out. So while the iron is just cooling down a little bit, I'm just going to iron that turning gap in. Now it is a curve. There are lots of ways that you can turn a curve in on itself to make it super neat. But because this is just a little bowl, I don't want you to panic about it. I want you to take your time and just try and fold over, fold in 1/4 of an inch. You can glue it if you want to. You could use your quilter's tape if you think that's going to help. But then we're going to top stitch all the way around, join up our sides, and we're done. So I'll just go ahead and actually turn this over 1/4 of an inch and do one side and then do another. So let me put you back on the other camera again. There we go, and I'll get myself ready for the front camera. There we go, and I'll just get that out of the way. So let's see if you can see it. So there's my turning gap. Now I probably will have to move it so it's more comfortable for me, but the first thing you want to do is this one, okay, this top layer here. That's the one that's the wadding is attached to. So I suggest that you do that. If you think differently, then you do it differently, and then let me know. Let me know how you get on. So I'm just folding that over, and I'm just going to give it a little iron. Okay. See, as we top stitch, if we need to adjust, we can adjust, can't we? Because we haven't fixed that permanently yet. Flip it over. And I probably have to move that slightly. I'll try and make sure my hands don't get in the way. And so all I'm doing, let's try and get at a funny angle again. All I'm doing is folding this under 1/4 of an inch as well and trying to get it to meet that. So it's going to sit nicely on top. If I can do it and get my hands out of the way. If I do that, can you see? So you can see that it's not too bad, and as I come round there and as I stitch it, it will look better. But of course a lot of this is going to be stitched up the seam here, so you won't notice. So let's just get that done, and then we can go to the good bit, which is the top stitching and the side seams. And where this is taking me, I suppose, a good 45 minutes. This will take you 10 minutes to make, I promise. No more. So I think I'm fairly happy with that. So let's make sure we turn the iron off. And so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to top stitch all the way around. Now you don't need to. This is something that's not structural apart from the turning gap, okay? That's really, that's why I'm top stitching, just to close that gap. You don't have to do that. You can hand stitch that close with a ladder stitch or glue it, as I said. But yeah, so that's the only reason I'm top stitching. I think that's fair enough. So I'm going to stitch my turning gap first. I'm going to take my stitch length up a little bit. I'm doing one stitch as a back stitch, because we don't want a bird's nest of fabric on our project, because obviously it's reversible. So we want both sides to be beautiful, okay? And I'm just jiggering this fabric around so it doesn't look too bad. I mean, you know, it's like everything. You think, oh, it could have been better. So sorry, you perhaps can't see so well. So I've gone over my turning gap. So now I'm just, you know, free to go around all the rest of it. Now my top stitching is about 1/8 of an inch away from my curved edge, okay, away from the edge. I'm not doing 1/4 of an inch. I'm keeping it neat, I suppose. Not bothered about my points. It's the curves I'm trying to keep really neat. And think about your thread. I'm concentrating on my stitching. So think about your thread, because I'm using a coordinating thread, but you might want to use a contrasting thread. You know, if you're using dark blue, go for white. It would look amazing. So taking my time. So if you're following along, hopefully you're keeping up. I'm going at a nice pace, I hope. And just stitching around. Do you know what? I really love this sort of stitching because it's not crucial, is it? It's not crucial. If you're making a bag or a quilt, you know, a patchwork quilt, something like that, Nearly every seam you do is crucial. Kind of. That's how it makes you feel sometimes, doesn't it? So look, I'm just holding this with one finger only because I want you to see. There we go. So I'm just going around my curves. Keep the pace of your machine up. If you've got a stop-start, then keep it on a slow speed, okay? And that way it's nice and controlled. So we're just coming back to where we started. I'm just going to cut my thread there so it's nice and neat. And I'm just going over where I started by 2 stitches. It's possibly 3, but... And then I'm just trimming my threads away. So that's my top stitching. Now, ideally I would give that a press now. Okay, and you can see roughly how I've top stitched it. If I bring that up to the camera, you'll see roughly what that looks like. So it's quite near the edge. That's what I'm trying to say, I suppose. It's not too bad. Not too bad. Could be better. Probably could be worse, but so all we're going to do now is finishing off, and finishing off means you just pinch those edges together and you're going to stitch about 1 inch. Now measure if you want to make a mark, by all means do that. Get your ruler, go from that point to that to there. Let me show you, sorry. Go from that point to there, measure it, mark it with a pen, you know, an erasable pen, and then keep them all the same. Or you could use something on the bed of your machine. You'll have plenty of lines and gauges. Use that every time to make sure that it's all lined up properly. Okay, so let's bring the machine in. And so what I've got here on my machine, I don't know if I'll be able to show you. Okay, so what I've got is, see all these lines here? They all finish here, okay? Let me get my finger out of the way. So they all finish here, and now I'm not sure if you can see it. I don't know if even if I tilt it, you'll be able to see it. Oh yeah, there you go. So do you see where those lines stop or start? Well, I'm using that as my guide. So my point is level with all of those marks. I mean, that's as technical as I'm ever going to get. I could measure it and pin it, but you know, this is fine. So 1 or 2 little back stitches just to hold it, and go over your stitching of your top stitching. 1 or 2 little stitches to finish, okay? So that's 1 done. So we've got a nice little finished point there. All of these threads can be trimmed away. And then it's just a case of working your way round. But you could also, I've done it so the pretty fabric is, let's say, on the outside and my seam is here. But you could, if you wanted to, stitch it so that fabric is on the outside and you're stitching that. Matters not, matters not. But the thing is, I know that you're going to make loads of these. I've already seen so many of these made since Friday. So just 1 little stitch, back stitch. Do not overdo your back stitches. It just helps lock your stitches in place. So that's 2 done. So let's do the other one. So just line the point up with the marker on my bed of my machine. 1 little back stitch. I need to change the needle in this machine. I've done foundation paper piecing and I haven't changed my needle, guys. I know. It's got to be a criminal offence, surely. So again, lining up my points and just 1 little back stitch and 1 little back stitch. Really don't overdo it. Okay, so I could then now spend a happy 5 minutes just trimming all my threads. So, do you know what? I'll do it. Why not? So, and if your threads get caught up, I've got my scissors upside down. So I've got, do you see I've got a little bird's nest there? I want you to see it because I never hide anything. Can you see that little bird's nest? Now I will spend 10 minutes just getting a pin in there and releasing all of that thread. I certainly will not leave it like that. Okay, so if that happens to you, just spare 5 minutes of your time, especially if this is going to be a gift, because this could be for Easter as well, or any time if you can make them for, dare I say, Christmas. So there we are. There's our little pot made, our little bowl, our little clover bowl. And yeah, just need to sort out my little bird's nest there. But There we are, that's all done. And of course what you could do now, little tip here, what you could do is get your, if you've got some flat iron, some like GHD hair straighteners, you could put them on here and turn these leaves over. You could just give it a curl with a flat iron. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But you can. It'll look quite nice. Or we can turn it the other way. Have the plain on the outside and the pretty on the inside. Could do with a press really, but anyway. So you can, I quite like it the other way around, to be honest. Yeah. So there we are. So now I've got, they seem to be breeding. I don't know which one I like. I still like my heart one that I did for the pattern. Yeah, and it's got my clips in it. So it's quite handy. They're very tactile, which means that you can have them in your craft room, and they're just nice to have around. And listen, don't stop with just making it like this, okay? Put a handle on it. It might draw it in a little bit, but put a handle on it, okay? Think about personalising it. So maybe you've got a plain sort of petal here. Put a monogram. So it'd be for Lizzy. But you could do that. Put a monogram on there. Just make it personal if it's going to be a gift. If you've got an embroidery machine. Or you could do some applique. Maybe you've got a applique flower. We did some flowers and mushrooms in our online group recently. And you could put one of those on each side. There's lots of things that you can do. And of course, as somebody just said, wonder what they look like nested. Oh, Jackie, what are you like? Well, actually, I suppose you could turn them at an angle. I don't know if that would work. Let's see. Let's see. I wish I'd turned that one now. Hold on, guys. I like this pretty fabric. Okay, so I'm going to twist it. I don't know what it's going to look like. Actually, and that looks nice. Yeah, but then we can just build them up. So actually, you can make a stack of these, couldn't you? Okay, I know I'm going mad now, but really, seriously? They look cool. Right, let's pretend and be sensible. So that's Making It Monday Project 18, the Clover Bowl. So I'll just run through the rules again, if there could be such a thing. So go to my website, lizzycurtis.com. Go to the shop, click it, and you get this down link thingy. And on there it says MIM patterns. Click on that. And then all 18 patterns come up. And because they're nice, simple, easy, relaxing, 5 minute, well, an hour and 5 minute make, they're just £1. They're just £1. But every Friday, the new pattern gets launched around about midday. And I always do a post in the Making It Monday group, because they're the supporters, so they always get to know first. And then I might tell the other guys. Lizzy Curtis page, my Gold Online Sewing Group page. I don't ever do it on YouTube because you can't kind of post stuff in YouTube as such unless you do a video. But, so the new one on Friday will be launched at midday thereabouts. That's the one we just made. Sweet, isn't it? And it's free until Tuesday. So I'm going to say Tuesday midnight, but I'm going to check that because it's the first time we've done that. And to get it for free, you put free in the coupon box at checkout. Now then, I have had so many messages from people to say they didn't know what the word was, they didn't know what the coupon box was, they didn't know where it was, and it's always there. The coupon box is always on the left-hand side on checkout. So you do have to go to checkout, but you don't pay as long as you put free in that coupon box. And that finishes on the Tuesday, so tomorrow, all right? And then after that, it's £1. But I still think it's an absolute bargain because, first of all, you get the pattern. and you get this video to sew along with me. And as I said, we're 49 minutes into this YouTube and Facebook Live, and you'll have made 3 in that time. I take it slowly, so you'll all see, and we can answer questions as we go along. And yes, it is a great gift, Nancy, for Easter presents, or in the US, of course, you've got Mother's Day coming up. Ours was yesterday. And I had a lovely parcel from my daughter Abigail, and I had flowers from my daughter Adrienne, and it was absolutely lovely, and I thank them both very much indeed. So, and we've also got Nancy here from Hampshire in the USA, and Nancy is on YouTube, which is lovely. We've got lots of people from Facebook. We've had a really, really busy evening, which has been super. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know. If you're not a subscriber of YouTube, well, hop along over there and just subscribe, because then you won't miss anything. If you already like my Lizzy Curtis page, you have to be a follower now, because I do believe Facebook are changing that. I think they're taking away the like option. That's what I'm understanding. So you might get chucked off if you're not a follower. You don't want that. So there we are. That's Making It Monday, Project 18. So Project 19 will be on the website about midday. Don't hold me to it in case something happens. In case I haven't had my lunch. And I need to have my lunch before I post it, I think, maybe. Or at least a bit of chocolate, not sherry. All right, well, thank you very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you make some. And if you're not part of the Making It Monday group, hop along to that as well and join that. It's Making It Monday, ! And it's a group. So have a little look for that. And I will see you all again next Monday, if I don't see you before. If you're part of my goal group, I'll see you on Thursday as normal. But if you're not, I'll see you next Monday. So have a lovely, lovely week. And whatever you do, find a little bit of time for